The sky cracked open. 12 escape pods shot down like burning meteors, cutting through the clouds of the dead planet, Thrusning. The wind screamed. Dust rose like a brown wave across the empty wasteland. Each pod hit the ground with a heavy thud, hard enough to shake nearby rocks. Inside each one was a contestant from a different alien species. These were not soldiers. They were survivors, handpicked from their homeworlds to join the galaxy's most dangerous contest. The last drop. No food, no water, no help. Just 8 days on a planet that hadn't seen rain in 2,000 years. The rules were simple: survive until the end, or die trying. A small black drone hovered above each pod, silently recording every moment for the millions, watching across the stars. To them, this was entertainment, but to the contestants it was real. It was hell. Inside one pod, a large armored creature named Krovox slammed open the hatch. His thick red skin glistened in the heat. He stepped out and looked around, breathing hard. Dry. Everything was dry. The ground was cracked and dusty. Trees, no clouds, just wind and death. Behind him, another pod burst open. A tall insect-like alien stumbled out, clicking its mandibles. It sniffed the air. Its antennas twitched. The moment it stepped forward, its legs buckled. The heat was worse than they expected. Within 10 minutes, the insectoid creature collapsed. Its soft lungs weren't made for hot, thin air. Its body curled in on itself, shaking. A minute later it was still dead. Drone 247 zoomed in. The kill count began. Contestants remaining, 11. Farther south, another pod had landed upside down. Inside, the door was jammed. A Revaka bird-like species from the snow planet Harnov scratched and pecked at the hatch. It couldn't get out. The heat inside the pod rose fast. Sweat poured from its feathers. It screamed. 5 minutes later, the pod was silent. Contestants remaining, 10. Then, a new pod hissed open. No alien jumped out. No beast roared. Instead, a single man crawled into the sunlight. His face was sunburnt, his hair messy, his body thin and covered in old scars. His name was Joel Varric, the only human in the contest. He stepped out slowly, squinting. The wind hit him in the face. It was dry, so dry it made his eyes sting. He coughed, wiped the dust from his lips, and looked around, just like death. Valley, he muttered. He wasn't panicking, he wasn't running. He bent down and opened his bag. Inside were only 3 things: a folded tarp, a metal water bottle empty, a roll of duct tape that was all Earth allowed him to carry. The rest, he had to make for himself. Up in the sky, high above the planet, officials from different alien races watched the feeds. Some laughed, others shook their heads. Why is there a human in this game? One asked. They wanted to test Earth's potential. Another replied, let's see how long he lasts. They all assumed the same thing: he would die first. But, down on the surface, Joel was already working. He dragged pieces of his broken pod into the shade of a rocky cliff. Using duct tape and some wires, he built a small reflector to direct sunlight into a shallow hole. Then he laid the tarp over it and placed a rock in the center. It was a solar stiller, simple device that pulled moisture from the air he had built. One before, back on Earth, during survival training in the Mojave Desert. Doesn't matter if it's Mars or Thrusning, he whispered. Physics still works. While other contestants searched the wasteland for water, Joel waited. He knew running would waste energy, and energy meant sweat. Sweat meant water lost. Instead, he sat still, breathing slow, eyes closed. Every now and then, he checked the still. Tiny drops began to gather beneath the tarp. By noon, the sun was brutal. Rocks were cracking in the heat. Far in the distance, a creature let out a high-pitched scream. Another contestant had died. Contestants remaining, 9. At night, the temperature dropped fast. Winds blew colder. Stars blinked overhead. Joel wrapped himself in part of the tarp and kept his still running. This time, it would pull water from the night air. The colder the better. He stared at the sky and whispered, "Come on, give me a sip." By dawn, he had less than half a cup. He drank it slowly. Every drop felt like gold. Elsewhere, the giant Krovox was not doing well. His thick armor helped during the day, but at night it held in too much heat. He tried smashing open rocks to find water, but found only dust. His throat burned. His tongue was swollen. By the 3rd day, Krovox's eyes turned yellow. He screamed into the sky. "Show yourselves, cowards," he roared, swinging his fists at the drones above. The drones recorded it all. He took 2 steps forward, and collapsed. Contestants remaining, 8. Joel found a better spot near a cliff wall with natural shade. He started digging, not deep enough to place more traps, more stills. He used broken plastic, pieces of his boot, and whatever else he could find. The water came slow, but it came. He didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He just kept working. On the 5th day, one of the drones flew lower. It hovered near Joel, watching closely. He didn't look at it. He just whispered, "You want a show? Watch this." He placed a new trap over a thin patch of sand. This one wasn't for water, it was for whatever or whoever was watching him. He'd seen footprints nearby, alien ones, 3 toes, clawed. He knew what that meant. Someone was hunting at night. Something moved in the dark. Joel stayed low, his trap ready. He heard the crunch of sand. A shadow moved near the edge of his camp. Then dash snapped up. The creature screamed. Metal wire wrapped around its leg, dragging it into the trench Joel had dug. It fell hard. Bones cracked. Joel stepped forward, holding a sharp piece of scrap like a knife. The creature snarled. Blood dripped from its mouth. It raised its arm to fight but stopped. Joel didn't move. They stared at each other. Then Joel backed away, slowly. "I don't need to kill you," he said, "but don't come back." In the morning, the creature was gone, but so was one of Joel's stills. He sighed. Figures. Contestants. Remaining 7. That night, a voice crackled through a hidden speaker in the sky. "Day 6 has begun. Only 7 remain, but only one... drinks." Joel looked up, surprised. "They're watching," he said. "They know." He sat down beside his tarp, took a long sip from his half-full bottle, and smiled for the first time. "They don't know what's coming." The heat returned like a hammer. The sky burned white as the second sun of Thruznan rose, higher and hotter than the first. Rocks shimmered, sand cracked, and one of the last remaining contestants, Sirith from the high-tech species called the Varen, walked proudly across the desert, wearing armor laced with cooling circuits and an advanced filtration helmet. He carried a scanner in one hand. It buzzed every few seconds, looking for water. Each time it beeped, he grinned. "Just another few meters," he whispered. "Technology always wins." Behind him, his trail shimmered with fading energy footprints. He stopped near a pile of jagged rocks. The scanner pulsed. Zirath crouched, pointed his gauntlet, and activated a small laser drill. It hissed and burned into the rock. He stepped back. The scanner flashed red. Zirath's smile vanished. No water, no moisture, just dust. He slammed the scanner down in frustration. This world is broken. But high above him, drone 196 recorded. It all beamed it to every corner of the galaxy. Then, without a sound, the drone shifted direction, heading toward someone else. Someone the audience now cared about more. Far across the desert, Joel Varick crouched beside a shallow pit, holding a piece of broken wiring and a rock covered in soot. He worked quietly, focused. His hands moved fast, despite the rising heat. He wasn't wearing armor. He wasn't using a scanner. He was building a condenser unit from junk. From scrap metal, a cracked solar panel, a metal spoon, and duct tape. Setup looked like something a child might build in a backyard science fair, but it worked. As the sun hit the solar plate, the air inside the dome heated. Moisture gathered on the underside of a clear surface Joel had made from shattered visor glass. He leaned down and waited. Drip. A single drop of water slid into the bottle below. He nodded. "It's working." Suddenly, a loud blast echoed across the dunes. He froze. A burst of purple plasma shot up from the horizon, too far to hit him, but close enough to raise alarm. He grabbed his knife-shaped scrap, rolled into a trench he'd carved the night before, and waited. Then came the second. Not human. Alien. A second contestant was in trouble. Through a gap in the rocks, Joel saw smoke rising. Something exploded. Flames licked the sky, and then silence. Drone 302 spun overhead, displaying new numbers. Contestants remaining. 6. Joel shook his head. "They're trying to fight each other. They still don't get it." He sat back down by his condenser, placed another piece of cloth near the collection cup, and wrapped the frame tighter with duct tape. Every drop mattered. By noon, Joel had 3 ounces of water, more than enough to live another day. He drank slowly. Every sip cooled his throat, washed dust from his mouth, and kept his mind sharp. Chewed on dry roots he'd pulled from a cracked ledge. They didn't give food, but they kept his jaw working. Then he turned to his next task, making fire, not for warmth, not for cooking, but for signaling. He broke apart more of his escape pod, and stacked the black material in a circular pit. He used the curved glass from his visor to concentrate sunlight into dried moss. The fire flared fast. Smoke rose in thin, black streaks. From high above, alien commanders began talking. "He's sending a signal. Is it a distress call?" "No," said the tall insectoid leader of the Auroch fleet. He's sending a message to us. The camera zoomed in on the fire pit that had been shaped into a crude symbol, one familiar only to Earth's people. It was the shape of a middle finger. Back on the surface, Joel grinned. Enjoy the show. He sat beside the fire, sharpening his knife, watching the flames dance. Then he heard the noise, a faint humming mechanical getting louder. He grabbed his gear and ducked behind a rock. Out from the dunes came Zeroth, still glowing with energy armor. His scanner blinked red, and then yellow, then green dot. Joel watched silently as the alien approached his water trap. Zeroth paused, looked around, then moved toward the collection cup. Joel's voice cut through the dry wind. You touch that, you'll lose your fingers. Zeroth froze, then laughed. This junk? You made this with tape and trash. Joel stood up from behind the rock. That's right, and it works. Zeroth sneered. Primitive trickery. Your people are savages. Joel shrugged. Maybe. But I'm alive. How many of your kind are left? Zeroth didn't answer. His scanner buzzed again, pointing directly at the still. He stepped forward. Joel stepped closer, raising his knife. Don't. Zeroth raised his arm and fired a pulse blast, not at Joel, but at the still. It exploded, sending steam and shards of plastic into the air. Joel lunged forward with a yell, but Zeroth fired again, blasting the ground in front of him. Joel rolled to the side and disappeared behind rocks. When he peeked up again, Zeroth was gone, and so was his water. That night, Joel crouched beside the wreckage of his trap. He stared at the melted frame and the dust-covered top. His hands shook, not from fear, but from rage. He didn't curse, he didn't scream. He reached into his pack and pulled out the duct tape again and got to work. By dawn, he had rebuilt the trap better than before. He used Zeroth's mistake as fuel, added broken pieces from the still, rerouted the condenser angle, and widened the collection cup using burned-out alien armor plates. This time, it would make more water and store it underground. Hidden. Safe. From now on, no one would steal from him. High above the planet, the audience numbers doubled. Millions now watched the water human. Betting lines were drawn. Merchants began selling shirts. Duct tape wins. And in the control room of the contest masters, a young analyst spoke nervously. Sir, if the human makes it to day 8, the director turned slowly. We may have to change the rules. Down on Thrusandon, Joel sat in the sand, eyes on the rising sun. He drank one sip, then smiled. Let's see how smart your tech really is. The scream echoed through the canyon. It was sharp, violent, not human. The sound bounced off the rocks and rolled across the dry valley like thunder. Joel Varick, crouched behind a dune, froze. His hand gripped a sharpened metal rod. His eyes scanned the horizon. Then the scream came again, closer this time. He pressed his body lower into the dirt, barely breathing. The desert had gone quiet, except for the wind and the buzz of a distant drone. The kill had just happened, but the killer was still out there. Earlier that morning, the sun had barely risen when Joel set his traps. He had learned fast. Water wasn't the only thing worth protecting. His stills were working better now, 2 of them collecting water by the hour, but he knew someone, or something, would try to take it again. So he built pressure plates out of pod debris. He laid wire nooses under thin patches of sand. He sharpened stakes and hid them inside small trenches. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was preparing for war. Around midday, Joel spotted movement on the far ridge. Just a shadow at first, then a shape, long, low to the ground. Clawed feet, a hunched back. The alien was nearly invisible, blending into the sand. A tracker, a hunter. Joel didn't move. He waited, breathing slow. The creature sniffed the air. It was following his scent, his trail, and probably the heat coming from his water rigs. Then, as it crossed the second ridge, it vanished. One step too far. A loud snap filled the air, followed by a yelp of pain. Joel jumped up and ran. He reached the trap just in time to see the creature struggling in the noose. The wire had tightened around its leg, pulling it into a pit. One of its arms was broken. Its long tongue hissed between sharp teeth. Green blood dripped onto the sand. It thrashed and kicked. Joel raised his metal rod, heart pounding. Stop, he said. The creature froze, eyes glowing yellow. Joel stepped closer. I don't want to kill you. The creature snarled and reached for a blade. Joel didn't wait. He struck. Hard. The metal rod hit its neck. Then again, and again. When it stopped moving, Joel stepped back. His chest rose and fell. His hands shook. Blood was on the sand and on his boots. High above, drone 140 zoomed in. Contestants remaining. 5. Joel didn't speak for a while. He sat beside the pit, staring at the dead creature. It was the first time he had killed someone outside a simulation. But it had to be done. That thing hadn't come to talk. It had come to feed, to survive, just like him. He wiped the sweat from his forehead, then got to work. He wasn't going to waste the body. By nightfall, Joel had stripped the creature's armor and claws. He used pieces of its plating to reinforce his camp. He boiled the alien's body fluids in a metal cup, collecting the steam using plastic wrap from his pod's medkit. The result? A few more drops of water. Even death could be useful. At midnight, while stars burned above him, Joel heard a voice. Not a scream this time, a whisper. It came from beyond the rocks. Then again, closer. Help. Joel grabbed his knife and crept forward. He found the speaker behind a boulder. It was another contestant, a thin, bird-like alien with shredded wings and a broken beak. Its eyes were wide with fear. It crawled toward him, holding out one trembling hand. "I saw what you did," it croaked. "Please, I can't fight. I just need water." Joel looked down. A weak part of him wanted to help. The creature looked harmless. He gave it a small sip from his bottle. The alien drank fast, too fast. Then it smiled. A knife flashed in the moonlight. Joel spun, grabbed the alien's wrist and twisted hard. The blade dropped. The bird alien screamed. Joel didn't speak. He pushed the creature away and stepped back. "Don't try that again," he said coldly. The alien scrambled to its feet and limped away into the darkness. He didn't follow. He just sat down, knife in hand. Trust was a luxury he couldn't afford anymore. The next day, the drones made an announcement. Day 4 begins. 5 remain. The human is leading in survival score. All others adapt or die. Joel chuckled. "I'm not leading," he whispered. "I'm just still here." He drank a small sip from his flask, cleaned his blade, and checked his traps. This was his world now, a dry, dead place filled with liars and killers. But he had what no one else did: water, grit, and duct tape from orbit. The alien council was in chaos. One of the scientists whispered to the others, "He's using parts of the planet like it's his own backyard." Another said, "His survival score is 3.2 times higher than the next contestant." And the director, a tall creature with glowing skin, leaned forward. "What happens," it asked, "if the human doesn't just survive, but wins?" No one answered. They all watched the screen, where Joel sat beside a quiet fire, alone, alive, and more dangerous than ever. The sky turned orange, not a normal sunset, not clouds, fire, thick flames rolled across the upper atmosphere of Thruznine. It started with a low boom like thunder. Then came the roar of heat waves pushing through the canyons. Joel Varick looked up and instantly knew something was wrong. The air smelled like burning plastic. The sky shimmered with dancing heat. Red streaks raced across the horizon, fast and wide. He stood up fast and muttered, "That's not natural." And at T.hours earlier, the alien directors in orbit gave a command. "Activate culling phase 1. One of them said, "Too many survivors. Not enough action." They tapped a screen. Orbiting satellites launched dozens of firebombs into the upper atmosphere of Thruznine, not to hit the contestants directly but to burn the planet's surface. A test of true survival. No shelter, no warning, no mercy. Joel saw the firestorm before it reached him. He had maybe 15 minutes. He dropped to the ground, grabbed his tools, and went straight to work. There was no panic, no wasted movement, just fast thinking and faster hands. He dug into the base of a rocky hill, scooping dirt with his boots and bare hands. He knew heat rose and wind would carry fire across the open plains, but not underground. He dragged his supplies in with him, his tarp, water rigs, and what little food scraps he had. He poured water around the edges of the entrance to pack the soil tight. Then, he sealed the hole with his tarp, pinned it with rocks, and waited in the dark. Then came the fire. A wave of heat exploded across the landscape. Sand turned black. Old bones burst into ash. One of the last alien contestants, a horned giant from the Andrak species, ran across the plains, screaming, his armor melting from his skin. He never made it far. By the time the firestorm passed, he was nothing but smoke. Contestants remaining for deep in his shelter. Joel held his breath. The air grew hot and thin. Sweat poured down his neck. His eyes burned. He clutched a rag to his mouth to block the dust, and waited. The wind howled above him. Flames hissed as they tore through the surface. Then silence. He counted to 30, then pushed up the tarp and climbed out. Everything was black. The sand had turned to glass in some places. Rocks glowed with leftover heat. Charred pieces of alien armor littered the area like garbage. Joel stood still for a moment. Then he bent down and touched the ground. Still hot, but he was alive. He walked to his water rig. Gone. Melted. He stared at the spot where it used to sit. The frame was twisted. The plastic dome had turned to ash. The underground storage bottle had cracked from heat. All that remained was a single half-melted cup with a few drops inside. He picked it up, shook it gently. One sip. That's all. He drank it slowly, then dropped the cup and looked at the sky. He tried to burn me out, he said quietly. Good move. He didn't smile, didn't scream. He got back to work. By noon he was building again, using melted metal and black glass. He crafted a new reflector dish. He gathered ash and mixed it with sand to create a filter for the next water trap, and this time he went deeper. His new collection system would sit 2 meters underground, far from fire and wind. He covered it with rocks, then packed the opening with dirt. No one would find it now. That night, something else happened. A drone flew to low. Joel spotted it while sharpening a piece of metal. It hovered just above the rock, slower than any drone had come before. It spun slowly, lens glowing red, but didn't move away. Joel narrowed his eyes. That's not one of the normal ones. He stood up, holding a long metal spike in his right hand. Let's find out how close you'll get. He stepped toward it slowly. The drone didn't flee. 10 steps, still nothing. 5 steps. Then it darted back into the sky and vanished. Joel stared into the darkness for a long time. Someone's watching more than they should, he said. Then he looked at his broken tarp and laughed just once. I hope they enjoyed the fire. High above the planet, the directors argued. You dropped fire across the surface and he still survived. His water system is back up and working. His hydration rate is stable. He's improving, learning faster than expected. One of them leaned forward. If he reaches the final 2, I want him captured. The others looked surprised. Captured? Yes, alive. I want to study him. Humans weren't supposed to win. Back on Thrusnine, Joel sat by his pit. He sharpened a new blade, reinforced his traps, added a hidden spike near his food stash. And then he spoke into the wind. To anyone listening, I'm not going anywhere. He drank the last few drops of water and smiled. You want to burn me again? Try harder. The footsteps came at night. Joel Varick lay still in his trench, breathing quietly under the sand-colored tarp. His water stash was hidden under a rock ledge nearby. Traps surrounded his position wires, spikes, and alarms made from pod pieces. Then came the sound again. Soft footsteps. Not the heavy thump of a brute. Not the scratching claws of a beast. These steps were cautious, careful. Someone was approaching slowly. Joel stayed low, his hand tight on his knife. His eyes watched the shadows just past the FIRELIGHT. Then a voice broke the silence. Please, I don't want to fight. It was soft, shaky. Joel didn't answer. I'm alone, the voice continued. I have no water, no weapons. I saw your traps. I know you're smart. Joel sat up slowly. A small, thin figure stepped forward into the FIRELIGHT. It was the bird-like alien. The same one who had tried to stab him 3 nights ago, only now its feathers were half burned. Its wings drooped. One leg was swollen and wrapped in old cloth. It dropped its blade into the dirt and raised both arms. I'm not here to trick you, it said. I need help. Joel didn't speak for a while. He stood, walked to the edge of the camp, and picked up the knife from the sand. Then he looked the alien over. You tried to kill me before. I was desperate, the alien said. I still am. Joel didn't lower his weapon. You steal water, you die. That's the rule. I won't. I swear it. Joel stared into the alien's eyes. Then, with a short sigh, he said, You sleep over there. Touch anything, and I'll bury you myself. The alien nodded fast and limped over to the far side of the fire. The next morning, Joel found him still asleep, curled up in the sand. He gave the alien a sip of water, nothing more. I'm not doing this because I like you, Joel said. I'm doing it because if someone comes hunting, I'd rather they kill you first. The alien laughed weakly. That's fair. They didn't talk much. Joel worked on his traps. The alien watched and stayed out of the way. By evening, Joel had reinforced the rock wall with sharpened bone spears scavenged from the creature he killed. 2 days earlier he sat down and looked at the sky. For left, he said aloud. The bird alien, now resting beside the fire, blinked slowly. Not for long. Joel looked at him. What do you mean? The alien glanced toward the east. There's a group coming. Joel narrowed his eyes. A group. The alien nodded. They're working together. 3 of them. They don't want to survive anymore. They want to hunt. Joel's face grew hard. How do you know? I heard them before the firestorm. They want your water. They think you're the last real threat. Joel stood slowly. He looked across the dark horizon and smiled. That night, He didn't sleep. He waited. He reset every trap, hid the water rigs underground, dug small decoy pits and filled them with sand and garbage, fake supplies, fake footprints, fake heat signals. He placed a sharpened spike behind a loose rock near the entry path, and then he hid not in the trench, but up on the rocks, watching, waiting. Just before dawn, movement appeared. 3 figures, 2 tall, 1 short. All armed, they crept forward like shadows, the tallest one a beast with silver armor and glowing eyes pointed to Joel's camp. There, it growled in a low voice. We take him, we take the water, we win. Joel held his breath. His knife was ready. A long pipe trap was aimed and waiting. The invaders moved closer. The short one stepped over a wire. Snap! A metal spike shot upward from the dirt, impaling the alien's leg. It screamed and fell. The others froze. Then Joel triggered the second trap manually. Hump! A heavy rock swung down from above, slamming into the side of the silver-armored ones. He collapsed instantly. The third alien turned to run, only to trip on another trap in 10 seconds. All 3 were down. Joel climbed down from the rocks, silent and steady. He walked over to the wounded one and knelt. You came to steal from me, he said. The alien hissed in pain. Joel stood. You don't get a second chance. He raised the pipe and slammed it down. Contestants remaining. 3 high above. The alien broadcasters were stunned. He took out all 3 in one night. One whispered, with no help, no armor, no scanner, just traps. The director frowned. He's doing more than surviving, he's controlling the battlefield. Joel sat by the fire the next morning. The bird alien looked at the smoke in the air and spoke softly. You could have let them kill me. I almost did, Joel said. Why didn't you? Joel didn't answer right away. Then he said, because sometimes the only thing worse than an enemy is being truly alone. The bird alien looked down, then offered Joel the last half of a dried root it had found. Joel took it, and didn't smile but nodded, but deep in the sand, buried under broken armor and dust. One of the attackers was still alive, crawling, breathing, watching. That the surface looked quiet, calm even. Ash blew gently across the rocks. The sky was pale and dry. Joel Varick knelt beside his hidden water rig, tightening the seal on the collection pipe. The fire was low. His bird-like companion slept near the wall, wrapped in rags, but under the dust, near the edge of camp, something crawled. A survivor. The alien Joel thought was dead. The one crushed in the night ambush had not died. Its name was Drek, a Tarsari brute bred for war. Its armor was shattered. One eye was swollen shut, but rage burned inside it, hotter than the sun above. It had seen everything. Joel's traps, his tactics, his water system. Drek had one goal now. Take it all. Joel didn't sense the danger. He poured water into a flask. Only a few ounces, but enough to live another day. The rig was working better than ever now. With deeper underground chambers and heteroflecting plates, it could collect twice as much as before. The firestorm had turned everything black, but for Joel, that blackness had become a shield. He leaned back and looked at the bird alien. You're quiet. The alien blinked. Thinking about what? The others, it whispered. How long until they come again? Joel didn't answer. He already knew. That night, they came in force, not just Drek. 2 more contestants still remained. One was silent, never seen, but always near. The other was a tall lizard-like creature with armor made from bone. Both had been watching Joel's camp for days. They didn't want to wait anymore. Now they wanted war. The attack started just after sunset. Joel had just finished sharpening new spikes when the warning alarm made from a string of empty canisters rattled against the wind. He grabbed his weapon. Get inside the trench, he said to the bird alien. But now, a shadow flew overhead. Then another. Joel raised his eyes and saw one of the attackers, the bone-armored lizard, leaping from rock to rock, flanking the camp. A plasma blade hissed in its hand. Joel triggered a tripwire. Boom. An explosion of smoke and dust knocked the alien from the rocks. It hit the sand hard and screamed. Joel rushed forward and drove a spike into its side. The alien stopped moving, contestants remaining 2, but then came the roar. Drek had arrived. The brute charged through the smoke, smashing traps and leaping over trenches. His arm was broken, his face burned, but he didn't stop. He wanted Joel's water, wanted his victory. Joel stood in front of his rig, weapon raised. You want it? Come get it. Drek charged. Joel ducked low, rolled aside, and slammed a pipe into Drek's leg. The brute didn't fall. He grabbed Joel by the neck and lifted him. You stole my win, he growled. Joel choked, kicked, fought, but Drek was too strong. Then a shriek pierced the air. The bird alien had stabbed. Drek in the back with a jagged piece of glass. Drek roared and dropped Joel. Joel gasped, fell to the ground, then grabbed the sharpened metal spike hidden under the sand, and drove it straight through Drek's chest. The brute fell hard. Contestants remaining, 1. Joel staggered back, breathing hard. The fire crackled behind him, blood soaked the ground. The sky above remained silent, but every drone hovered now. Every camera, every eye in the galaxy was watching. He was the last one left. He dropped to his knees, not in victory, but in exhaustion. He looked at the bird alien who was sitting, trembling beside the trench. You stabbed him. I didn't do it for you. The alien whispered. Joel smiled. I know. They both laughed softly, like to dying men, but Joel wasn't dying. He had water, he had fire, and now, he had something more. That night the sky lit up, but not from fire, from ships in orbit. The alien council had made their decision. He has won. One voice said. No. He has destroyed the purpose of the contest, said another. He turned the game into a war zone, turned scraps into tools. He made this planet his. The director of the contest, a tall alien with dark silver skin, stepped forward. Then bring him up. What about the bird one? Leave it. The contract was for one winner, one survivor. Joel saw the lights in the sky. He stood, grabbed his gear and drank the last sip from his flask. Looks like they're ready to talk. Then he looked down at the bird alien. They won't take you. The alien nodded. I know. Joel hesitated, then pulled out half of his remaining water. It'd stay alive. The alien's eyes widened. Why? Joel looked up at the ship coming down through the clouds. Because maybe next time, you'll be the one building the traps. The ship landed. Metal hissed. A ramp lowered. And Joel Varric stepped into the light. Bloody, tired, burned, but not broken. He was the human who won the game, with no tech, no team, just survival and duct tape. He sat in a chair of smooth black metal, arms strapped at the wrists, while the ship hummed quietly around him. The interior was clean, cold, and too quiet. A single drone hovered near the ceiling, watching everything. After winning the last drop, he expected rest, a bed, food, answers. Instead, he was taken to a dark chamber with no windows, and no one was speaking. He whispered, "Where's the commander?" No reply. The drone blinked red. Joel's fingers tensed against the restraints. He knew that silence. He'd heard it before in interrogations, on Earth, before a knife came out. The door opened with a hiss. A tall alien stepped inside. Its skin was smooth like glass. No mouth, just dark, swirling eyes. Joel had never seen this species before. The alien moved slowly and placed a small black cube on the table in front of him. Then it spoke not with words, but with thoughts. Joel flinched as the voice entered his head. You are not the first human to win. Joel stared at the cube. What do you mean? The voice continued. There was one other 30 cycles ago. He won the contest. But we never let him leave. Joel's blood ran cold. Why? The cube clicked. A hologram burst into the air. A human man, older than Joel, stood on a different desert, worn, angry, sharp-eyed. Then the hologram showed his death strap to a metal frame. Burned alive. Joel stared in silence. The voice returned. Humans are not meant to survive this test. When they do, they break the game. They embarrass us. Joel pulled against the restraints. They watched every moment you lived, the voice said. And now, they want you gone. Outside the ship, a sleek drone zipped through orbit toward the planet. Its orders. One last sweep to ensure no other contestant remained, because according to the rules only one survives. And Joel wasn't the last one. Not really. Down on Throsnine, the bird-like alien Coruscant near the old fire pit, sipping the last of Joel's gifted water. He was weak, sunburnt, alone, but he was alive. The fire crackled beside him. His wing was healing. He had started building his own rig, copying Joel's traps. His water trap was small but worked. And for the first time since landing, he had hope. Then he heard the hum. High above, the drone spotted him. Violation detected. One contestant remained alive on the surface. The drone spun once, locked in a firing code, and dropped into attack speed. Back on the ship, Joel's eyes narrowed. Wait, someone else is still alive, isn't there? The alien said nothing. Joel yanked at his restraints again. Is it the bird? He's not a threat. He is unfinished. He is a reminder. He is a problem. Joel screamed, "Don't you touch him." The alien turned and began to walk out. Joel twisted hard. Something popped in his wrist, but he slipped his right hand free. Blood poured from the joint. He grabbed the black cube and slammed it to the floor. It sparked. The drone above blinked red then white. For a moment, the ship jolted. Joel was on his feet, pulling wires and slamming his shoulder into the door. He was not going to let Kara die. On the surface, the drone closed in. It dropped lower, spinning, charging plasma. Kara saw it too late. He ran, wings dragging in the dirt. The water rig burst behind him as a plasma bolt struck it. The sky lit up. Fire rolled over the sand again. Kara crawled into the trench Joel once used, coughing, shaking, clutching his side. Then the drone hovered directly above him, its red lens focused. Beep, 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 boom. The drone exploded in midair. A second ship had fired from orbit Joel's stolen escape pod, now reprogrammed from inside the larger carrier. Inside it, Joel's face was soaked in sweat. His arm was bandaged in torn cloth. His chest burned from the fight, but he was alive and free. He dropped the pod through the upper atmosphere like a missile. It screamed through the clouds and slammed into the desert floor. Kara stared at it. Wide-eyed. The hatch blew open. Joel stumbled out, bloodied, angry, still breathing. "You owe me," he said. Kara laughed even through the pain. "I was trying to save your water, not your ship." Joel grinned. Bad trade. But the smile didn't last. Because now both of them were targets. And the Alien Council wouldn't allow this mistake to stand. To survivors. Impossible. Up in orbit, a dozen command ships locked onto their position. Inside the command chamber, the alien director gave one final order: burn the zone. Glass it, no survivors. Down on Thrusnine, Joel and Kara looked at the sky. Dozens of fireballs descended from orbit. Joel reached into the pod, pulled out the last working weapon, a stolen energy shield. He threw it over Kara, then looked back at the sky and whispered, "Come on then, let's see what you've got." The sky broke open. It wasn't a firestorm this time, it was judgment. Dozens of burning missiles rained down from orbit, launched by the Alien Council's warships. They weren't meant to test survival anymore. They were meant to erase. Inside the crater on Thrusnine, Joel Varick shoved Kara, his bird-like companion, beneath the stolen shield rigged from alien tech. The shield wasn't meant for this. It was a small field barrier meant to stop blaster shots, not orbital fire. But it was all they had. Joel threw himself on top of it as the ground began to tremble. "Hold on." The first missile hit 3 kilometers away. The sand leaped into the sky like a wave. The force knocked Joel off his feet. Fire licked the edges of the shield. Kara screamed underneath. Then the second missile hit closer. Joel clenched his teeth, rolled back under the dome, and pressed the core stabilizer with his boot to keep it from sliding. The power meter was already in the red. "One more hit," Joel whispered. "That's all it can take." But 5 more were on the way. In orbit. The Alien Council watched in silence. Nothing could survive that. One of the commanders said. "They won't," said the director coldly. "They are not supposed to, but the viewers will. Control the broadcast. Cut the feed before the impact. Say it was a glitch. No one will know. But someone was watching. A hidden feed. An encrypted backchannel meant only for officials. Somehow it had been hijacked. And across 100 worlds, people were seeing it live. Joel, the human, refusing to die, back on the surface. The third missile exploded overhead. It hit the nearby cliff, collapsing stone and sand across the camp. The fire ripped through the sky. The shield crackled. Power, 3%. Joel turned to Kara, whose feathers were now scorched and shaking. "Listen to me," Joel said. "When this thing drops, you run. Don't argue." Kara shook his head. "No, we both run." Joel gritted his teeth. "It's me they want. You're just a mistake." Kara raised his head. "Then I'll be your mistake until the end." Joel blinked. And smiled. "Fair enough." The fourth missile hit. The shield collapsed. Silence. Dust rolled in like smoke. But when it cleared, they were still alive, half buried in the sand, covered in ash. The last missile had misfired, detonating too high in the air. Joel coughed, pulled Kara from the debris, and looked around. Everything was gone, but they were breathing. 2 survivors. In orbit. Chaos erupted. How did they live? They weren't supposed to. They're transmitting. Live. The feed couldn't be stopped. Every citizen of the galaxy was now watching. Joel dragging Kara through fire-blackened dunes. Kara, using a torn wing to shade Joel from the sun. The human and the alien both still standing. Together, and then, from the corner of the sky, a flash. Not a weapon. A beacon. It was a ship. Human. A coded signal cut through the firestorm. Joel's gums crackled in his ear. "Joel Varick, this is Earth Vessel Pathfinder. We've tracked your signal. Stand by for evac." Joel dropped to his knees. He looked at the sky, eyes wide, then laughed a long, broken laugh. "You're late." The Pathfinder entered orbit, ignoring alien council warnings. A dozen warships tried to intercept, but the human ships sent just 3 words: "He is ours." None of the aliens moved. They couldn't stop it now, not without war. The Pathfinder touched down near the crater. Its side door opened. Armed Marines poured out. Medical teams too. Joel stood slowly, one arm around Kara. The lead Marine stepped forward. Orders said, "Pick up 1 survivor. Looks like you brought a +1. Joel grinned. "You got a problem with that?" The Marine shrugged. "We've got 2 stretchers." Joel and Kara were carried aboard. The ramp closed, the engines fired, and the sky above Thruz 9 disappeared. They had both survived, the human and the alien, inside the medbay. As nurses patched Joel's arm, he looked over at Kara, hooked to oxygen and still breathing. "They said only one could win," Joel muttered. A nurse smiled. "Guess you rewrote the rules." Joel leaned back, eyes closing. "No," he whispered. "I just broke them." EPILO later, in a hidden station near Earth's border. News broke across the galaxy. The contest is over. Earth demands it never happens again. Joel Varick became a symbol, not just of human survival, but of resistance, and Kara. He stayed by Joel's side, silent, sharpened, and no longer afraid. Together, they taught the stars one truth: you can burn a world, you can rewrite the rules, but you can't kill the human will to survive.